everyone, welcome once again to Arrow Discussions. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric, and I'm watching a show with 80% less costumes than I would like.
Yeah, I know you are, Eric. Today, we're going to be talking about Dodger, which includes a supervillain who isn't really a supervillain, and it would have no business wearing a costume, Eric.
I was waiting for a reveal that he was like an actual villain. Like there was something about him where I was like, okay, he's using all this technology. Like, I was waiting for, like, a name where, like, I could look it up and be like, oh, he's the trickster. Like, that makes sense.
No, I looked him up. He really is comic book. There is a Green Arrow, Green Lantern villain called Dodger.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah, I looked him up, and I never heard of him either. He is really obscure. Really obscure.
I didn't think of looking up Dodger. I was waiting for, like, a name.
Well, that's what they kept calling him all through the episode.
Yeah, and I've got an issue with that. We'll get to that at the end of the episode. But,
okay, well, anyway, here's what's really kind of interesting about it. In the comics, he's not a costume supervillain. He is precisely what he is in the episode. In fact, he's maybe the most ripped straight off the page of anybody they've done so far, just because they didn't have to do anything to him. He's a like master thief. Now, I don't know if he has the collars. I didn't look that far into it, but he's like a master thief, and he's British.
That's really interesting.
That's what I thought. But I thought he was pretty cool, and I recognized that actor from something, and I could not put my finger on what it was.
I forgot to look him up, but yeah, I recognize him from something.
I should have. I looked up Dodger, but I forgot to look that up.
I gotta. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say the title was kind of misleading for me because everyone said Roy Harper was going to be in this episode, and because Wikipedia had that thing where it had the couple episode like descriptions, and it said that Roy Harper was going to show up and he was going to be a thief, I thought it was going to refer to him and it was going to be like an artful dodger kind of a thing. And then it wasn't that at all.
Well, and it may be that it was somewhat of a double entendre.
Yeah.
I don't know, just because you could stretch it and say he's dodging the police and he's dodging the people he steals things from and that sort of thing. But I don't know if that's what they were intending. But there was one actor that I did recognize, and I thought it was really ironic. The guy who is Moira's friend at the beginning that we see again at the end. Who?
Oh, you mean both... they stopped just ripping off the Dark Knight and they just started picking cast members
putting cast members from Dark Knight in the show? I know that was Lau from Dark Knight. I was like, wow, that guy's just in this. But I thought that was pretty cool. That he was there. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, wow, okay. So you just, like you said, you've just stopped ripping off ideas and you're just going to start casting from the Nolan Batman films. That's great.
Oh, hey, wait a second. I think I know who Dodger is. I think I've actually read the issues he comes from. It says that he was created by Judd Winnick. Oh, no, he comes from Green Arrow, Black Canary. Oh, he's really new. He was created in 2008.
07, 08, yeah.
Okay, I was assuming an older villain, but no, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know who he is because I didn't read Green Arrow, Black Canary, but okay, yeah.
Well, and I read something about Green Arrow, Green Lantern too, so I don't know.
He definitely has a costume. I'm looking at this picture here. He's got a costume.
He kind of sort of has a costume, but he's not considered like a costume villain.
It's a generic costume, but it's a costume.
Okay, anyway, so about this episode,
he's got a utility belt and everything.
Where do you want to start? There's about 3 different subplots going on here.
I don't know. It's so weird because like I don't feel like, I mean, I guess presumably the Dodger story is the A story, but I feel like everything is kind of connected. Okay, actually, I want to start with what I liked the best about this episode, what I think was strongest about this episode.
Sure, go ahead.
The island stuff.
Oh, okay, all right.
I was like, there was 100% no way he leaves that guy in the cave. He's gonna untie him, and that guy's gonna be a traitor because his story doesn't make any sense. So of course he's a traitor. He leaves him in that cave, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, I was too. I was surprised by that. The island stuff's getting stronger and stronger, and I actually feel like I'm invested in it, and I'm sort of paying attention to it. I know what I'm looking at now because it's not like 6 seconds of a 45-minute episode.
I really liked it. I thought that stuff. I thought that was easily the strongest stuff of the episode, but I was really impressed with just how bold that was. That he just left him on the island, or he just left him in the cave.
Yeah,
I was
that's a good point.
I was so ready for him to set him free or something like that. And when he has that moment when he's on the date where he says, I had to make tough decisions. The way that he, when he says that, it cuts to that guy, and that clued me in. I'm like, okay, there's something up with this guy. I think that guy really is what he says he is. The fact that he actually chose to leave him, I think he's what he says he is, and I think Oliver's going to regret that. I think that's going to be an ongoing point.
Maybe so, yeah. I don't want to jump the gun and say that that's exactly what it is, because, like you said, his story didn't seem to check out very well.
No, it didn't really make sense at all. Especially when he's like, well, they got called away, so they couldn't kill me. I was like, it takes like 3 seconds to put a bullet in you, dude. That's really flimsy.
And I also like that we're seeing Oliver getting smarter and a lot suaver in dealing with stuff like that, because the Oliver that first showed up on the island might have bought into that.
And, he absolutely would have. Yeah.
And at this point, with everything we've seen him experience, I like how linear it is. I like that what takes place in this episode, it seems to be directly after what we were seeing with him and Slade last episode.
Oh, absolutely. Although I did find it funny that they actually just out and out said, Yao Fei has these leaves that are super leaves that cure everything.
I know, that was so weird when he said that. They're super leaves, they cure everything. And Slade's like, all right, go get me some of those.
Go get me some of them super leaves that cure everything.
I think Oliver's maybe exaggerating just a little bit.
Not from what I've seen in this show.
Okay, well, fair enough. I wanted to say that maybe my favorite thing about the episode is, believe it or not, Felicity. I liked her a lot here.
I loved her interplay with with Oliver and Diggle. I thought it was really strong.
I'm really excited that they're going the direction I was hoping they were, which is giving her more and more reasons to actually stay with them. And by this point, it's pretty obvious that she's going to be a mainstay there, and she's going to stay in the Arrow Cave and work with them.
Well, I said, last week, I'm pretty sure she's going to jump on for a little bit, and then she's going, by the end of the season, something's going to happen where she's going to come around and decide that she has to be on, that she has to keep helping him.
Yeah, and I really like that she's resisting it at the beginning. I mean, like, everything they're doing, I think is really believable. Where at the beginning she's like, well, if you're just going out and killing people and not even paying attention to, like, their personal stuff and everything, then I'm not gonna work with you. And then Oliver kind of turns it around on her, and I don't know. I liked all of that quite a bit.
Yeah, and we only had I think one scene where she did her saying something inappropriate and then correcting herself before anybody says anything. And I actually thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I did too. I know they're writing her better. It seems like the more she's in it, the better they're writing her. And one of my favorite moments is at the party toward the end. The really subtle way both Oliver and Diggle react to seeing her in a dress.
Yes, I like that.
Did you catch that? I thought that was really cool. And I liked that they didn't play it up too hard. They didn't make a really big giant deal. There's no dialogue about it. It was just...
Well, but they do the camera thing where they pan up.
Barely... Yeah, well, and that was smart. I mean, she's barely recognizable because of the way they usually...
And without her glasses.
The garb they usually put her on. Yeah, and without her glasses. But I like that there's no dialogue about it. I like that Diggle and Oliver just kind of look at her, and then immediately, we've got a job to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was all a lot of fun. And it was a really good dress.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it was a really tasteful dress.
That's what I thought, yeah. But anyway, odd thing to comment on, but I was surprised by it. I thought it was really cool.
Well, welcome to Queer Eye for the Straight Guy for comic book shows.
Exactly. Okay, so I gotta ask you, what did you think of the whole dating subplot?
All right. Um, I when she well, first of all, there's a weird line delivery, or a weird writing thing, where Oliver says to Diggle, you should ask her out, and then Diggle says, I'll ask her out after you ask out that detective. And Oliver goes, I don't see you asking her out. I felt like Oliver's line should have been, I'll ask her out if you ask, this girl out. But that's just a minor thing. I just thought that was a weird line. My problem is that they're the same. Because when they first both go on dates and it both ends badly, I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. And at the end, when they both resolve, I was like, that's not how you do this. You have one of them resolve and you have one of them not resolve. Like, I felt like both of them having a bad date and then both of them patching it up. That, like, I don't know, structurally, I feel like that's wrong.
I felt the same way about it. I thought it was too easy. I liked the paralleling at first. I liked that both of them have this kind of background stuff they don't want to talk about, or rather that Oliver, that it's not exactly the same between both of them. In one case, it's Oliver that doesn't want to talk about his past, and in the other case, it's actually the girl that Diggle's dating. So I mean, I like that it's not. Really, it's exactly paralleled, but I'm with you. I thought she was almost like waiting for that, and then was like angry, almost scripted.
I thought,
if that makes any sense.
She
I didn't like
really
that.
Unsympathetic about that.
Really unsympathetic. I mean, like, yeah, he's bringing up something that was really hard for her, but that's his brother.
It's really hard for him too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing they had in common. How could you expect that not to come up? I mean, like, if you were going to get that bent out of shape over it, and I thought the way he did it was as classy as could be expected.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
absolutely.
Like, and he apologizes for it. He says, "I'm sorry. There's no handbook for this. I don't really know what I'm doing," and she is way too quick, I think. I just thought the way it was written was forced. I don't even have a problem with the character so much as I'm not sure that was in her character. I felt like it was forced, and the way that she's like, I don't know, just take me home. That didn't work for me at all.
No, Oliver's date worked better.
That did work better.
But I like, although I did think she overacted a little bit in that one too. But I liked that both their dates went badly. It was really just at the end where they both just completely resolved and it was fine. I'm like, that feels wrong. Like just on like a standard writing level, I feel like that's wrong. I feel like if you have two people who go on a bad date, at the end of the episode you have one of them resolve it and you have one of them, it doesn't work.
Well, I don't think there's a rule. I don't think there's any like hard and fast rule about that. Of course, it doesn't feel believable.
It rang false.
What's that?
It rang false.
Yeah, I thought so too. I just thought it was really convenient. It was too like. It was almost too artsy, if that makes any sense. It was almost like, we're trying really hard to do this paralleling thing, and so we're going to have it turn out exactly the same way. Like I said, the paralleling worked fine at the beginning. I didn't feel like they had to take it as far as we're gonna make them both work out this way because I guess just to make some point about how Oliver and Diggle at the end of the day are still worth these girls paying attention to them.
Right.
But anyway, at the same time, kind of a minor thing. It was all right. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen when it comes to dating stuff, and I like that Diggle is. I like Diggle in that. I think even more than I like Oliver, just because he's going after a girl I know he's not going to end up being with, so it's hard for me to get invested with that. Whereas with Diggle, even if that's not the girl he ends up with, I enjoy seeing him having a harder time with interpersonal relationships than he does with taking bullets for people.
Well, what I liked was that with Diggle it feels more genuine. With Ollie, it almost felt like he was uncomfortable. I have a hard time telling if because like he's like I've been on an island. It's been a long time since I've had to do anything like this. I'm like I don't know if that's true. I couldn't figure out if he was genuinely uncomfortable or he was if it was kind of a put on. Like I felt like he was more uncomfortable because he didn't know like how much to let her in, and like I felt like it was a different kind of uncomfortable. Like it was like I felt like it was all tied to him being Arrow, and then with Diggle I felt like it was just he was genuinely like uncomfortable and not sure what to do.
Yeah, I think so too. I completely agree with you. Kind of off that topic to a degree, but still on the whole relationship thing. I read an article today that baffled me, where there apparently, according to the producers of the show, they're apparently getting a lot of letters saying that people want to see Felicity and Oliver get together, and I don't get that.
I could see that because she clearly has a thing for him. I don't see that as a progression of those two characters at all. I
just feel like they're in two totally different pools. Like I don't feel like they're in the same league at all.
No,
I'm not talking about that on some kind of like a social ladder or anything. I just feel like they swim in different ponds.
They're completely different personality types. They're not really compatible.
Yeah. But I'm just surprised that people didn't latch on to what we latched on to last episode,
which was her and Diggle.
Instant chemistry between her and Diggle.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty plain. I mean, like, I got really excited about that. I was like, ooh, they need to put them together.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, just as a side note, I wanted to mention that.
It was interesting. So do you want to talk about the Roy Harper thing?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, I want to hate Roy Harper so much. Because he shows up and he just looks like underwear model. There was even a point like when he's telling his sob story. I was like his forehead is so smooth, it looks so weird for him to move his eyebrows. But I liked him. I thought he was kind of fun. I really just like when he first showed up. I'm like, I'm not gonna like this guy. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, he instantly struck me once he started talking as a good actor and is right for that part, and seemed like a way better casting choice than where they went for Huntress.
And I really, really liked how I really liked him at the end of the episode when she goes to his house and he's like, "Hey, don't believe everything that somebody tells the cops to get out of being arrested."
Yeah, I like that too, although I was a little bit confused by it because I wondered just how much of the story he gave was true. Because I sort of liked the idea that she and him would have this connection with Vertigo.
Yeah, and that's clearly what kind of drew her to him. I got the impression that was all a lie.
If he totally made that up, yeah, I sort of wonder where that's going, especially because where he is at the end certainly somewhat seems to line up with his story. I mean, he's not in a good part of town.
And her speech at the end where she's like, "You don't know me," she has a point on some of it, but other parts, like she's like, "I almost went to jail for crashing that car you're talking about." I'm like, "But you didn't."
That's
some
right.
some of it was fine, but some of it I was like, "You still sound like Paris Hilton. You still sound like a rich snobby girl that's not going to turn his opinion around."
So are we to assume they're going to pair them up?
At least initially, I think there's going to be a thing there. I'm going to be interested to see how that develops into him meeting Oliver. I mean, if anybody hasn't read the comics, he's Speedy. He's, Oliver's sidekick. But what I found most interesting is that if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know. Like,
no, you have no idea.
The way he's introduced, you could never see him again. Like, I feel like if you came into this not knowing anything about comics, you wouldn't necessarily feel like he's going to be a significant part moving forward. And I kind of like that. I kind of like the humble beginnings.
As soon as he showed up, I was like, oh, that's going to be Roy Harper.
Oh, well, knowing that Roy Harper was in this episode, the second I saw somebody running in a red hoodie, I was like, oh, there's Roy.
Yeah, sure. I didn't remember that was necessarily this episode, but I knew it was coming up. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, that's this episode. That's right.
I remembered because I thought they were doing the Artful Dodger thing with Roy.
So what was your, as we're wrapping up here, what was your beef with Dodger?
My beef with Dodger is that at the end of the episode, he steals the jewel himself, and his whole thing, the reason he's called Dodger is because he dodges it and makes other people do it for him.
That's a really good point.
It seemed completely nonsensical that he would go into that party and swipe it himself. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah, good call. I don't know why I wasn't even thinking about that, but now that you mention it, yeah, it seems like it was
Dodger.
Just. Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, they just threw that in there so that he would have to go up against Oliver, because it would be really, they'd have to actually think up something clever to come up with some other way that he would have to meet up against Oliver, since he usually does everything from the sidelines.
And the thing is, I felt like how they wrote it, literally like 30 more seconds, and it would have been fine. Because he grabs it, Felicity sees him and says no, and then he slaps the collar on him. I was like, why didn't they just add like 30 more seconds where he slaps the collar on her and makes her steal it? It's really weird that he would steal it himself. Good
call, right, because that's his whole thing. So why did he just put a collar on her and then just leave her there? Yeah, all right, you win. That's ridiculous. Well, I'm disappointed by it because I liked the whole idea.
I did too, and I liked how she played out. I loved how calm she was with that. Like she was uncomfortable, but she wasn't freaking out with the collar around her. I thought that was a nice little character.
I thought that was all really believable and fun to watch her play it. I liked the idea of a fence who makes other people do it and makes other people do his dirty work for him and does it with suicide collars.
I thought that was all cool, and I thought they just kind of threw it away at the end.
It was really unusual kind of way to do it, and it instantly makes me more interested in a villain, because I'm like, okay, well, this guy is a terrible human being, but at least he's kind of clever about it.
He's got an interesting shtick.
Yeah,
and I liked his performance. I really liked him. And I liked when he took down all of those mobsters solely because they were cheating him. He wasn't. Yeah. He was being fair. I really liked that. I thought that was a really interesting twist on the. I gotta say, I don't think I've ever seen a character like that in television. I can't ever think of seeing someone who that's their shtick.
Not precisely that. No, it was good. I would have been okay with him being around for maybe a couple episodes even.
I could see him coming back. I don't know. I don't know exactly like how you bring him back to do more stuff, but I could see him. Oh, okay. He is from Battlestar Galactica. He's Gaius Baltar.
That's who that is. How did I not immediately? This whole time I just keep going, I know that guy, and I know I've seen him in something regularly. Okay, all right. Well, we keep saying that we're waiting for somebody we know, and there's a guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you watched all Battlestar, but I did.
Oh, I've only seen the like pilot movie, the 4-hour movie, but he was my favorite character in it.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, he's the most intriguing character through the whole thing, I think, or definitely one of them. Anyway, I had one other thing I wanted to bring up, Eric, and that is, let me ask you this question to see if you've got a better idea on this than I do. I don't know why Moira's breaking point is now and wasn't earlier in the season. I like the idea.
No idea.
And let me explain quickly what I mean, if in case people don't know what I'm talking about. I like that Moira isn't just the straight up bad guy and that she's caving, and that the idea isn't that she's looking forward to killing millions of people in this city. It's that she thought she was getting herself into one thing years ago, it turned out to be something else, and she's never been able to get out of it. So she's stuck there because she's afraid that she's going to get murdered and her whole family's going to get murdered, so she's still there. They've been trying to make us more and more sympathetic toward her all season. I feel like now I can kind of meet them halfway. The problem is that this is the episode at the beginning where she says, I want to get out. And I want to know why Green Arrow showing up and putting an arrow to her head does that but having her husband get kidnapped episodes ago didn't.
Yeah. To me, like at the end of this episode, when she orders a hit on Merlin, my immediate reaction was just like, and you didn't do this when your husband was abducted? Why?
I don't get it.
No,
I
it
mean,
feels
he
really
comes
forced.
up, and that's part of it, and I appreciate that. But I feel like this is structured poorly because the way it's played is like, oh well, now I'm worried about my kids losing their mother. That's not working for me.
I feel like they started with her bad, and as going forward, maybe they like the actress, maybe they just changed their minds.
I
Of
agree with you.
everything in the show, this feels like the most unnatural progression. Is changing their minds and deciding she's not a bad guy.
Yeah,
Um,
it feels stretched. It feels a little forced. And again, I mean, I like the idea that she got trapped in this years ago and can't figure out how to get out. If they'd started with that, I think it would have worked quite well.
it didn't feel like that until almost halfway through this season.
Yeah, in some ways it didn't feel like that until now because at the beginning of last episode, like we said, I really thought that her whole thing to the vigilante because she doesn't know that it's Oliver. When she's like, I have a family, I have children, and shows him a picture. I thought all that was just so that she could reach for a gun.
Yeah.
It sure played out. It sure played that way, and then now we know that it really wasn't that, and that she really is worried about her kids losing their mother. And I'm just like, it feels like you would have been just as motivated losing your husband. How is she going through her day-to-day life knowing that he's someplace? And I mean, I know
And
that
I wonder if
she's
part of this
gotten
is-
evidence that he's not dead, but still, like, I don't know, man.
I wonder if part of this might be us, because I remember a couple of episodes ago, somebody was like, "What are you talking about? I never thought she was that evil." So maybe part of it's our perception. I'm not sure.
Maybe so. No, I think you're right. I think part of it is our perception. Just
But
on the whole
I
evil
really
thing.
got the impression that she was bad.
At the
And
very
now
least,
I don't know.
but that's not even what I'm talking about, Eric. At the very least, it's inconsistent that she wouldn't have already been motivated to order that hit.
Yeah, no, and I'm completely agreeing with you. I feel like if they wanted to have that changing point, that's when her husband's abducted, not after Green Arrow puts an arrow in her face and it's got something to do with her kids or something.
That seems flimsy to me, but that's all.
I,
Otherwise, it's another pretty solid episode. I mean,
it's not
they're-
exceptional, but it's pretty good. Again, I'm going to say the same thing we said a couple episodes ago. If this is what bad episodes are going to look like moving forward, I'm pretty satisfied with it.
Me too. Sure. Yeah, I can deal. I mean, I can deal with 3 or 4 of these in a row. It's still worth watching. It's solid.
And like we said actually before we started talking, I was impressed because both of us felt that after last episode, the way it ended, I thought it was just going to go back to like a filler episode. Not that this was incredibly plot driven, but it wasn't just like a throwaway episode either.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I really thought that after Oliver says, last episode, my mother's off limits, that we were just going to get completely away from that, and it was going to be 3 or 4 or 5 just like kind of random going after people Notebook episodes, and we're still driving the main narrative forward here. I'm impressed by that. They dodged that irritating CW story bullet. And this series, I said this at the beginning, and I think this is a good time to say it again because I had a period there where I wasn't sure about it. I feel like this series is still kind of too good for this network.
Oh, it's absolutely too good for this network.
And I love that about that because if CW can put stuff like this out, it'll be a better network.
But actually, one other quick thing I want to mention is after the Dodger strikes, Oliver says to Felicity, "We don't just go after people in the Notebook. Sometimes, occasionally, we go after people like this." And
we make exceptions, he says. Yeah.
I had this moment where I was like, "When was the last time you went after somebody in the Notebook?" I feel like it's been a while since that's been a plot for an episode, outside of his mom last episode.
That's true. I think the last time that we really had a big one was with that guy that Diggle used to work with.
Oh, that's right, Blackhawks.
So that's not that for long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I feel like the Notebook thing has been kind of few and far between. It just felt weird. It was like sometimes we make exceptions. I was like, it seems like you make exceptions a lot.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that though, because that would make me sound really hypocritical, considering that I like the fact that it's
I'm not complaining.
Just
I just thought it was a weird
just
line.
formulaic bad guy of the week kind of show.
And
I mean, there is a bad guy every week, but I like that they come from different places too.
Yeah, I'm not even really complaining. I just wanted to say I thought that was kind of weird. But no, I'm liking that it's not just every week is okay. Now I'm crossing this person off my list, which is really where I thought it was going to be going 3 episodes in.
Yeah, they really.
I thought it was going to be the serious version of My Name Is Earl.
And I always kind of wonder if they had kind of maybe planned for that at the beginning, and then they decided, like they changed their minds, and they were like, I think the viewers will appreciate us more if we aren't that formulaic, or if they really were just trying to kind of mess with our expectations. Because if they did, they succeeded at that. I mean, like, it's almost like they knew it was going to take them a while to find their footing, so they almost made it look a little more mediocre than it really was, and then they started pulling out the stops.
Or they kind of gave themselves a safety net so that they have like a go-to plot early on that they don't have to work too hard with as they find their voice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season the Notebook just goes away and he's just full-blown superhero vigilante.
Oh, I think so. I think that's a great prediction. I agree with you. Well, everybody, thanks a lot for listening to Arrow Discussions. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.